You're listening to Little Pricks Podcast. We're so happy you're here. Get comfortable and enjoy the episode.
Hello there, little pricks. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Hey, what's up?
We have Devon.
Hey.
I'm Fareed, and today we're back with another fantastic topic
Let's
that
go.
I think is going to hit near and dear to both of us at the very least, and
Oh,
hopefully
sure.
to you guys.
Absolutely, man. We're on a roll. We're on a roll, especially after the last episode. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling better.
Good.
I'm feeling more clear.
Good.
It feels good to grow. There's no growth inside of comfort, unfortunately. But, nonetheless, I definitely had a time of growth and a period of realization, so that was good. If you guys haven't seen that episode, definitely check it out. That was a good one to watch. It was not a typical one that we usually make. It definitely was one that
It's more of a debate
I was
style.
like, am I even going to post this? Am I even going to edit this? And it ended up being like super beautiful. I can't even wait for you to see it. I mean, you haven't seen the
I have
finished
not
product,
seen it.
so
Nope.
it's like,
I was just there.
yeah, you were there. So that's the best seat in the house, right?
Yep.
So, today, Fareed, what are we getting into, man?
Today's topic kind of coincides a bit with the last topic we had, right?
Okay, all right.
It's a nice little segue into it. It is, when is it okay to apologize?
When? Okay.
And what is the purpose of an apology?
Okay, so a lot to unpack there, no doubt. So one more time? Can you just say it one more time?
When is it okay to apologize? And what is the purpose of an apology?
When is it okay? So initial reaction is like, always. It's always okay. But I feel like there's something to unpack there, right?
Oh, yeah, there's
Like,
always something to unpack.
There's something to unpack there. And then the second part was...
What is the purpose of an apology?
Okay, right. So there's a lot to unpack there too, right? Because you can
Absolutely.
kind of get into what does an appropriate apology look like? Because, of course, there's examples of piss poor,
Absolutely.
god-awful
So,
apologies that really aren't apologies.
oh,
So,
absolutely. It's more of just trying to like, hey, I said it, didn't I?
Right. There's
And
a lot there.
I'm going to tell you right out the gate that I'm coming from a place of having to have learned the hard way when is it okay to apologize and what the purpose is of an apology, and that'll actually shape how you apologize.
Yeah. Figuring out those things first and answering those questions first definitely will land you in a spot where you're apologizing, one, the correct way, and two, in a way that's sincere and
Absolutely. And to be fair, I think we've all been there.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. I
all been
don't feel alone in this episode, but I've been there. Also learned the hard way. I would say the first memory that pops into my mind is the apologies that I did after I had like this stark growth in my life. Like there's just like a pivotal moment in the last like 2.5 or so years where I just really pivoted, really started working on myself, really had to start taking accountability for the things that I did. It went out of hurt, no doubt, but nonetheless had to take responsibility for. And it's all about growing. It's all about pursuing the highest version of yourself and being the best that you can be and taking accountability and holding space even for love for that person that you used to be, but moving forward again, just chasing that best version of yourself that you can possibly be.
Absolutely.
So,
and being nice to the person you used to be.
yeah,
You
right.
can
Like, don't
change and
hold
not
hate
like
in
who
your
was,
heart
but
for who
don't.
you were. It was
Yeah.
still you, Like, yeah, okay, maybe it was a less favorable time in your life, sure. And maybe it's a version of you or a person that you're not trying to be anymore, but that's okay. It was still you. And
Absolutely.
so, anyway, but with that being said, where are we starting at first? Like, how should we tackle that? What angle should we approach at first?
So the question really becomes, what is the purpose of an apology?
Okay. I think, the purpose, taking accountability. That's the big one. The purpose is righting your wrongs, I guess. Maybe taking accountability is more of how you apologize, but the purpose is righting a wrong that you did, recognizing that you did something that caused somebody pain and you have to make amends for it.
Okay,
That's the purpose, right?
I'm going to add to that a little bit, where I think the purpose of an apology is to make the other person, the person on the other side of the apology, to feel understood and heard.
Ooh, yeah.
And you take accountability for what you made them feel.
Right.
Right? Now, at the end of the day, you feel what you're going to feel. That's on you. But at the same time, when you do something wrong towards somebody, it's only natural for them to feel a certain way.
Right, yeah.
And so our job in that apology is to say, hey, I realize I made a mistake. I kind of slighted you. I made a mistake. And I'd like to express,
right.
that was not my intention. I was wrong.
Right.
Period, right? You want to make the other person feel understood in how they feel and hopefully not gaslight them. Right? It's like, well, you shouldn't feel that way kind of thing.
Or I'm sorry you feel that way,
Oh, yeah. There's definitely wrong ways to apologize.
It's horrendous.
Let's discuss some of the wrong ways to apologize, right?
Well, that statement I just said, right? Like that, to me, that's the biggest one. I'm sorry you feel that way. Go fuck yourself. Like...
Or I'm sorry you took it that way.
Right, yeah, I'm sorry you took it that way. It's a gross lack of accountability. That is not an apology.
I'd rather you just shut up.
Right, I would rather you just actually not talk to me. Actually, go ahead and just bye. Goodbye. Well, maybe that coffee might be in the shot of me. But yeah, definitely, yeah. I'm sorry you feel that way, or I'm sorry you took it that way. That is not an apologize.
Anything
or an apology.
that blames the other person.
Right. The words "I'm sorry" do not classify apology. To me, I think a true, genuine apology has three things. It has accountability, sincerity, and maybe timeliness. I think that one potentially is kind of like
subject
here, yeah, that's like gray area. But
timeliness, I think, is important. But
yeah,
which I might as well actually just jump into it now, right?
Yeah,
it's
sure.
The timeliness. I think a lot of times, the sooner you can apologize, the better.
Right, like 6 months later, a year later is like not as good as,
not
6 days later.
I would say, if you do have to take some time to actually understand what you've done to the other person.
And that does take time. Like sometimes that is the reason for a delayed apology.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't do it in that moment, obviously that's the best time to do it.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave something festering because what you've done to that person now gets to stay with them. You've created an impact, you've changed them. And the sooner you can apologize, the sooner they can hopefully move on as well from that particular situation.
Yeah. So maybe we can also, in this topic, if you have an example that you have in mind,
I do.
Maybe give some context to that because I think it's a little easier to like follow what we're talking about or follow like the examples or the directions that we're giving.
Yeah.
When people have like a scenario to apply it to.
So I will give you an example of my own life, and it's very, very personal.
Okay. Well, if it's too personal, I get it, but
I'm fine. So, I went through a situation, I want to say about 5 months ago, maybe 6 months ago now. It's getting there.
Yeah.
It was roughly August, September. And it was ultimately led to a breakup of sorts, like a true ending of a relationship.
This is the worst,
Or at least a space, right? It put space between, a significant space. I won't say an ending, because, you never know. But it required on her behalf. She wanted space, and truthfully, I should have apologized right then and there.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have had an impact. It wouldn't have made a difference. It was too late, sort of a thing, to do that. And more importantly, I wouldn't have truly understood what I was apologizing for.
Wow. So the timeliness, definitely. I see why you said that.
Timing does play a factor in it, right?
Yeah.
And in that particular case, it really required me to take a few steps back, accept that that's what she had asked for at the time, and say, you know what, I really need to figure this out. I need to work on myself and understand why I'm not able to see her point of view on things and accept them.
Yeah. So not only on your end is the timeliness a factor, but maybe potentially on the receiving end of the apology.
Wasn't ready
timeliness
for the apology.
is a factor too. Like, right, especially a situation like that where somebody is like potentially met a threshold where they're wanting some space away from the situation, away from the relationship. Like an apology at that moment, maybe not the best.
Not the right time.
Maybe not the right time. Because, in your head, you always, like, the initial reaction is, no, you apologize right now. And it's like, yeah, maybe
and there's
not.
certain times where that's valid, right?
Right, for sure.
But realistically, there's other times when, let's say you make an apology, and the person's just going to look at you and say, why right this moment
Right.
when you've had
like
all this
right
other
now,
time?
seriously?
Yeah, like you could have done the small apologies throughout the way,
Yeah.
but instead you let it come down to a head.
Yeah.
And so for me, what it took, and I think it was the most beneficial thing for her as well, is I gave her space. I gave her roughly 4 months, 4 months.
Wow.
Right. And in that
Okay.
time frame, no talking, no nothing, but I relentlessly worked on myself. Like at no point did I find moments to screw around.
Yeah.
I relentlessly took time to work on my mind, my body, and the things that I do that
Right.
are my day-to-day life.
Wow.
And in that process, I analyzed the behavior I gave her that caused her to be upset and caused her to feel the pain she was feeling. And I was able to pinpoint, this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong. Totally understand why she was upset there. Totally understand why that was wrong of me to do that to her.
Even that perspective we talked about in the last episode where you zoom out for a second, gain some perspective, then zoom back in on that spot you were on, you know?
And I had to acknowledge a lot of the nasty things that I was perpetuating and not really acknowledging during that time frame that we were together. But I had to realize, like, wow, the way I was apologizing wasn't great. I would say things like, well, I'm sorry you took it that way.
Oh,
Right?
God, not you.
Well, I didn't,
No,
I
that's fair.
had to take responsibility for it, right?
Yeah, right.
Little things that just, you're just taking it the wrong way. This is not a me thing; it's more of a you thing. You're skirting responsibility and you're pushing it on them, right? And I did take that time, and I sat down with her. Fortunately, she gave me that audience, and I apologized in the way that I would think was appropriate for what the situation was.
Right.
And she seemed to take it very well.
So not the I'm sorry you feel that way at this point.
No, God,
Yeah.
no. That's a dead portion of me.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. I know.
Unless I
I
don't
just
like
laugh
you.
because it's like I'm like coming down on it so hard, not realizing that your example was going to be, oh yeah, that was me.
But
actually,
you should though, because it's inappropriate. It's incorrect.
right? No,
Right?
it
Just because it's
definitely
me
is.
doesn't make it like, oh, I should go soft on you. Hell no.
No, that's fair. No, it definitely. I've been there. I've had those apologies directed, those terrible excuses for apologies directed towards me, and they just don't bother. You know, like apologies correctly done really should be sincere.
Now, I will say that's an example of timing something appropriately, relatively appropriately. Obviously, I'm never going to know the perfect time to do something.
Well, sure.
But there is the opposite side of that, in which sometimes the apology just like doesn't need to come.
Really? Never, huh?
Sometimes
Okay,
like the time has gone far enough that maybe they haven't really processed it properly, and you apologizing and you risking screwing up the apology. What if you just bring up the old memories and you just bring up old traumas?
Then not bravo, I think, because you know that's where I would disagree. There's never a too late. I agree that it's not ideal. I agree that if this is like some kind of go ahead.
This is more of a question I'm posing. This is not my opinion.
Okay,
I should
gotcha,
probably pose it.
gotcha.
Yeah. Is there a time when it's just too far out? You should probably let things lie.
No, not at all. I think there's definitely a point where it gets so far out. Like, for example, use like a family feud, an old family feud. Is there ever a time where people just need to say sorry, make amends, or it's too late to do that? No, there's never, ever too late. It might bring up some feelings, and it might make things get ugly for a while, and it might make people feel certain ways, and it might disturb what on the surface appears like peace. It's not peace. And if it does stir up those emotions still, and it does still cause that reaction, obviously there are still things there worthy of discussion, worthy of apologizing for, because why live your life that way? You know, why live your life in a false sense of security, a false sense of peace, when underneath the surface, not even really that far, you scratch the edge and chaos ensues? You know what I mean?
Sure. So I guess we should probably look at something else very important about the apology. Let's say it's been a long time, right?
Sure.
I think the intent behind the apology will probably dictate whether you should or should not approach and apologize towards somebody.
Okay.
So let's give you an example, right? What is the purpose of apologies? To make someone feel understood. If your intent to apologize is to absolve yourself of guilt, probably not a great idea to apologize. If the apology has more for you to gain from it than the other person, you should probably keep the apology to yourself. An apology should be as selfless as possible. It should be about them, right? You did something wrong. You're taking accountability. If you're just doing it so you can feel better about yourself, shut up. Leave it alone.
Really?
Don't bring this back into their faces if your intentions are incorrect, I'd say.
Yeah, I think depending on the example, yeah, potentially, because on one side of that, I'm like, not a terrible thing to do for yourself, like not a terrible thing to explore, not a terrible thing to take accountability for. Like, for something for you to take accountability for, if it's making you feel guilty, there's probably something that you need to, apologize for. There's something that you need to be sorry for. It's making you feel guilty for a reason. Maybe in the situation of you're going to apologize for something that the other person doesn't know you did, and that's why you feel guilty, you should do that. You should not keep that to yourself.
No, but I think you should process this and get it to the point where it's not just about you.
Sure, but I'm making the point because some people are going to hear that and they're going to be like, well, what if it's because, you cheated on your partner? That's why you feel guilty, and don't bring that on the other person. Yeah, you should apologize.
That's a rough one though, right? So if the person doesn't know,
yeah,
should you bring that to their face? Like, you're obviously honoring the truth aspect of it. Like, you're owed the truth.
Yeah.
But that brings up a question of nothing is wrong. There's no chaos currently. Am I just trying to make myself feel better by sharing the pain, right? So that brings a question that I don't know if I'm qualified to answer, but if, like, you've cheated on a partner, right? Mm-hmm. And they never know, and they're never going to find out most likely, but you feel guilty about it. Let me share this with you. That's kind of a selfish thing in some ways. And I don't know. I'm not saying...
I think it's... No. I hear your take, but I also hear that, like, if you are in a let's just speak in the term, in the context of a monogamous relationship, but cheating is cheating. Cheating can occur outside of monogamous relationships, just for clarity. But if there is information that if the other party knew would affect their desire to be with you, they are entitled to know it. That's just my hot take.
I would say
I'll never budge on
person.
that.
There's some people who just
never
don't
budge
know.
on that. There are. I'm not saying like there are
for
not
you,
very
that's your
many.
Truth. That's your truth. That's fair.
I think a lot. Let me know what you guys think, because
Yeah.
I think majority of people are going to say the same thing. If it is information that, given that information would affect that person's desire to be with you or not be with you, they should know it.
But I still think it comes down to your intentions, right? If your intentions are, I need to tell them because it's eating me up inside, shut the hell up. If your intentions are, you know what, I've done something wrong, they are owed this information. And don't try to convince yourself one thing if you know the other one was there, right? You have to be brutally honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And say, I feel really guilty, but I'm going to try to convince myself they just need to know. If you don't actually believe it, shut up. You're doing it for the wrong reasons, and it's going to go only poorly.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? If you genuinely sit there and go, I have slighted my partner, or whatever, right? Like, we're just using
I have
cheating.
wronged my partner. Yeah, sure.
You've cheated somebody, but I need them to know because it could affect the way they make decisions, and they are owed the truth so they can make the best decision for themselves.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because the person in the mindset of I just feel guilty and I need relieved of this guilt.
You're being more selfish.
Is not going to receive the reaction of that partner probably as well as the person who's like, I messed up.
Exactly.
I messed up. I didn't, and they need to know about it.
Intentions matter so much. Right? You need to make sure that you're doing things for the right reasons.
I'll be honest, that's a part of it I didn't really consider. I will consider moving forward. Yeah.
If it's just for you, shut up.
Yeah.
That's your cross to carry, right? Like, when you make mistakes, take responsibility.
I feel like, thinking out loud, I just think that maybe somebody who's in that mindset versus the mindset of being genuinely sorry, the person who's like just doing it to relieve the guilt is the I'm sorry you feel that way person. Right? To me, like, that's the correlation I'm making.
Absolutely, right? And you know what? It still bears the question, is it ever too late to apologize? Some could make the argument, let's say you, the partner one is really good because it's mild enough.
Well, it's a relatable example, unfortunately. I think a lot of people can relate on both sides of that, so it's like, meh.
Let's say you did cheat on a partner, things don't go well, they don't really know it, so to speak, or maybe they do, right? They've moved on, they've married someone, so to speak, or they've been in a really serious relationship 4 or 5 years later. Is it still appropriate to go back and apologize, or do you want to pull that back?
That's a good example. Damn, that's a good example.
That's what I'm saying. Is it always appropriate to apologize? Sometimes you just have to carry what you've done. But
It depends. Like, especially in that situation, it's like, God, I don't know. It depends on what kind of relationship you have with your ex and what relationship they have with you. For me personally, I don't have that relationship with exes. I don't have that. Like, if that ever happened to me, like if an ex that cheated on me had ever like reached out later on, like it just wouldn't. I don't have that relationship there. Like that would not be appropriate. I don't think it would be too late. I don't want the apology after I'm already in another relationship, and after that much time has passed. Like, well, no shit, you're sorry. Like, I don't need to hear that.
What do you mean, no shit, you're sorry?
Well, it's like it makes sense, right? Like I don't need to hear you say. You don't need to come to me years later, apologize. Like. What? Like, what even is that?
So
like, I can see.
Are you saying that it just benefits them at that point? And
right.
It has
yeah.
no
No. Like,
it's
definitely leaning in the side and in the favor of the statement that you made. That like maybe sometimes it's not appropriate. It's too late, and it doesn't make sense, right? But there's also people like there's this guy I listen to. I only know him as Therapy Jeff. I forget his last name because he goes by Therapy Jeff so much.
Jeff.
But he has a podcast called Big Dating Energy, and he talks about. I didn't realize. No, right. That's a good name, isn't it?
That's great. BDE.
Yeah,
I love it.
Big Dating Energy.
Yeah,
and he like collaborated and wrote this book with his ex-wife.
That's
awesome. Pretty sure it's the book. Don't quote me on that. I don't want to like misrepresent Therapy Jeff, but he definitely collaborated. He did something with his ex. Like he has that relationship. So like for somebody like that, no, I think that he could have something or she could have something that they could apologize to each other for later on that would make sense, and like there is not like a too late, whereas in the situation that we spoke of just before that where it's like you're in this new relationship, you're married now, and then this ex comes back and apologizes for cheating on you, that
I think
pass. Keep that one to yourself.
I think the question really comes down to what are your intentions for apologizing? Is it just to absolve your own guilt?
Yeah.
Or two, you think to yourself, you know what? I really did do them wrong. It would be appropriate for them to understand that I understand, and that maybe I was abusing them in that time frame. And it's just taking responsibility, right? Like you always have some sort of benefit from an apology, right? Because it's in some way, shape, or form you're going to feel better for it. But if you can honestly tell yourself the majority of that is going, hey, I made a mistake, and you are owed an apology.
Right.
You are owed to know that I was wrong and I acknowledge that.
Like maybe if there's something for the receiving end of the apology to gain, then maybe it's never too late and never inappropriate, right?
And I think that's something you should balance. And I would actually lean to the idea that maybe for most people, it's never too late depending on your intention.
That's fair.
If you feel that the majority of the benefit is to them,
yeah.
Right? Because you'll always benefit in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah, the person apologizing, you mean?
You should probably do it, right? But that's a timing thing and something you need to consider. But it takes a lot of reflection to do that. And then that leads to the question is, how does one apologize?
Oh, I could lay that out perfect. I'm like, no, I know what ways I've been apologized to that aren't right, and I know the ways that have been sincere.
We've stated how not to apologize.
Right.
Do not blame the other person. Do not try to justify your behavior.
That I think a truly appropriate, genuine, sincere apology is very, very vulnerable for the person apologizing. It's going to make you feel this big because you're going to have to stand
totally exposed.
Yeah. You're going to have to sit like this, look up at the big, tall, scary, dark thing that is the wrongdoing you did to that person and say, I'm sorry. And not, I'm sorry, that's it. Not, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry for precisely X, Y, and Z.
Oh, yeah.
Name out exactly what you're sorry for. Like you said, you have that period of reflection. I think that is appropriate. You need to know exactly what you're apologizing for. Apologize exactly for that. No, I did none of this. I did X, Y, Z because... No, none of that. I am sorry for exactly
there shouldn't be a because.
This. There
should not be
because.
A because. Yeah.
The word because shouldn't be in an apology.
There should be no justification for your actions.
Right.
Right? Because then you're
Very
just trying
precise.
To dumb it down.
Well, and you're dodging. You're dodging that accountability. That accountability is right here. You're in the crosshairs of the scope of accountability, and you're trying to
can't dodge it.
None of that. None of that.
You should never make an apology, I'm sorry, and call it a day either.
Right.
Right? The I'm sorry is worthless.
Right.
The I'm sorry is simply the words you say as a precursor for your explanation of what you've done to them.
Let's sound this out. I'm sorry for
X, Y, Z. And I understand it made you feel LMNOP.
That's a good addition, for sure.
You need to try to feel whatever pain they felt and explain them. You understand, and better yet, I understand what I did to you. I understand as much as I can how you felt about it.
Yep.
And this is what I'm going to do to never do it again.
That's very good, man. Yeah, for sure. Definitely apologizing for what you did. And then, like you said, following that, acknowledging how it made them feel. That's a good part, too.
The apology is worthless if you're not sitting there trying to create an action plan to never do that again.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, I hurt you.
Some kind of reassurance.
Let's try next week.
Right.
We'll see what happens then.
Right. No sense of reassurance. No comfort there. And, the hopes that you would never do it again. Unless, maybe, you're not trying to instill as much confidence in somebody in the situation of, like, they're married now, and you're apologizing for something like infidelity back years ago or months ago.
You can still acknowledge, like, I won't ever do this again to somebody else, even if you're going to do it to them, right?
That's
to
fair.
Somebody else, because it shows that you've learned your lesson.
Yeah.
Right? It's more than just acknowledging their pain and you understanding it. It's like, hey, I don't want to be that person again.
Yeah.
To somebody else. And
that's a good point, man.
It's funny because this is literally what a lot of religion talks about, right? It's when you ask for forgiveness from God, what's like the last portion of it is, I repent. We're not going to do that one again.
Right.
Right.
No, I'm going to try not to do that one again.
I'm going to do my bestest to not do that one again, because after a while, which again they talk about in religion, is like, you just feel ashamed. You have to continue to apologize. But if you do it again, you should continue apologizing. Right? But the action plan is that thing that closes the gap.
Yeah.
I won't. Let's use infidelity as an example, right? I hurt you in this way. I understand that was incorrect. I am tremendously sorry. I will not put myself in another position to do that to you again.
Right.
Right? So if that means for that particular person, I won't go to the bar anymore, because clearly that's a bad situation.
Right. But
I
it's
will
a situation
not be
where
alone with another, person of the opposite gender, for example, depending on your relationship, right? That was inappropriate. Whatever it is for you that you need to do to make sure you're not back in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything is worthless without that action plan.
Yeah. No doubt. Okay.
An apology is such a big thing.
Right, and it
we
seems
take so lightly.
We take it so lightly, and we act like it's just this casual. Not everybody, but I'm just saying it is easy, and I have definitely had examples where people just think that it's this casual thing, I just need to apologize, and then whoop, wipe your hands clean. And it's like, no, man. Apologizing and really actually apologizing is a very long, drawn out, intricate, detailed process that, done correctly, I think done correctly might not get you the outcome that you want, might not get the person that's getting the apology the outcome that they want, but man, does it make a difference in the way that you both feel, And
your interactions from there on out.
That weight, it's like it. Sometimes pain manifests as a physical weight on your chest, right? Or I've even had that before. And man, apologizing.
Emotional pain, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And just apologizing, even in examples that I can think of in my life, has relieved a physical heaviness on my chest. Or when somebody has came to me years later to apologize for things and make amends, it's honestly a weight I didn't exactly realize that I had. I didn't realize I was carrying around.
You suddenly breathe
better. It was a ball and chain that was on my ankle that I just got used to dragging around. It wasn't on my wrist necessarily. It relieves that. So, done correctly, apologizing is great, but it is also something not to take
So I think
lightly.
As a society, most of us don't know how to apologize, and I'm actually going to refer back to our love series, Familial Love, because we learn how to apologize from our parents, right? When you're a little kid, that's when you learn how to apologize. Right. And what do the majority of apologies sound like?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I took your toy, or I...
No, it's I'm sorry. When your parents... hey, you hurt your sister.
Right.
What do we say? I'm sorry.
Right. No, that's wow. Good point.
Right, and that's kind of where it ends. As long as you get the "I'm sorry" out, that's
totally fair.
enough.
I definitely don't have any memories of my parents being like, "Now, what are we sorry for? How did we make sister feel? Let's make sure we take accountability for that." It was like, like you said, what do you say?
The way we teach children how to apologize needs to change so that we push that growing forward and change the way society thinks about apologizing.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know my parents did that for me, not to say that they were wrong. It's just the best they could do. Right. And I remember a couple of times that they would say,
like, is that really what you're thinking too? Like, as a parent, and not that I'm a parent, so I'm not going to pretend like I can really understand that perspective too much. But to me, you have a child. Is that really the first thing you're thinking about? Like, now let's break this down, Timmy.
Probably not.
Let's make sure we are empathetic here. How did we make sister feel? Let's take responsibility. Rough. Like, that's a lot.
No, it's a lot to teach somebody, and I understand that parents just want you to get the basics in.
Sure.
Right. And so you have to kind of push past that, and hopefully we can, have parents start to learn how to teach their children to apologize. Like, I know for me, when I have children, that'll be one of the lessons they learn. All right, child, right? I don't know if they're boy or girl there.
Right.
Child, you hurt your siblings' feelings. You're sorry. And why are you sorry? What did you do to them that was wrong?
Yeah.
Give them the step-by-step on how to do it. And hopefully in the future as they learn, they'll be, I'm sorry.
Honestly, and kids are like such sponges, man, that if you just did that a couple times with a kid, I bet you they pick it up so fast too, And then they're just so, like, there's things that in my life that I remember vividly, just because when you're that young, you're just a sponge, man. Like, positive or negative, you just absorb things. So, not a bad point, yeah.
No, and then that teaches these children that grow up to be adults how to apologize and hopefully to have healthier, happier relationships. And that'll lead them to having better friendships and better romantic relationships, which we will discuss in the future love series.
Yep.
So that's a big, important one.
Yeah. Which that will be the next one, guys, just for reference. I guess we can tease that. The love series is coming up, but the next episode will be on relationships.
Yep. That's going to be a Valentine's Day special. So stay tuned for that. We got a Valentine's Day special coming.
Super excited to record that one. Super excited to put that one out for you guys.
We're moving in that direction. So, so there are obviously going to be benefits and pros and cons to apologizing.
Right. And I think now I feel like, man, I had time to kind of brainstorm about that before we started, but now I feel like it's totally different. What did I say there? Because
you had written down that the receiving end deserves it, so that's a pro for them. It also takes a huge weight off the one apologizing, and the only con is to is being uncomfortable in the apology.
Right, sure. Like, both parties, realistically, that's, I guess, if you would consider that a con.
Is it a con? I don't know. I think
I put that like the only quote unquote con I think I put in there was that you're going to have to get vulnerable. It's going to be uncomfortable.
I think an appropriate apology has no cons. I think an inappropriate apology is a con in and of itself.
Yeah.
So if you sit there and you're apologizing for all the wrong reasons and you haven't taken the time, you're just hurting both people.
Realistically, you're just hurting both of you. Just
don't
stop.
do it.
Just
move on. and this really forces people to be introspective, right? You have to understand truly how you've hurt somebody, and if you are bullheaded enough to sit there and say, "Well, no, you are just too sensitive," and maybe there's times that's the case, but if that's your only place your mind goes to, right, you're the problem. You have to take time to be accountable and take a thought process of saying, you know what, were they being too sensitive, or was I just being a jerk and don't want to own up to it?
Right.
And you might find situations where you're like, man, there's nothing I can do to this person to not upset them. Maybe they need a little accountability too. But focus on yourself, right? That's like the stoic mentality. Focus on the you. That's what you can control.
Yeah.
So if you really analyze the situation, you go, well, you know what? Maybe they are too sensitive, but at the same time, maybe that was probably inappropriate of me. And I know that these are the things that upset them.
I don't like the terms too sensitive, right? Like, we gotta steer away from that. Too sensitive is pretty barbaric, I would say.
It's a little barbaric, but there are just some people that you just don't jive with. They're maybe too sensitive for you.
I think that when you have that situation where people feel justified in saying too sensitive, there's something underlying that sensitivity.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
sure.
Like it's not them being too sensitive. It's that on top of whatever else is going on underneath the surface makes them display as what that person perceives to be as too sensitive.
So you're saying they're like an onion and they have layers.
Right.
So I would actually dive
That's
into
like that. Definitely, I just had like a flashback to the first Shrek movie just
Yes.
now. Yeah.
Like an onion. That
Yeah.
was the point. Yes. So I would actually say, and this is each person's a little different.
You're right. Yeah. Now you're like right here.
I want to talk to you closer. It depends on each situation, but I think let's start at the first layer of the onion, right? The person is too sensitive, right? Clearly something has triggered them and that they feel just they're delicate, right? We're going to rip off that layer. What's the next layer? For some people, and I say this because I've dealt with people like this, there's also like a layer of entitlement. Entitlement of like, well, you shouldn't do these things anyways. And that just pisses me off, right? No one's entitled. You can't have that sort of entitlement, right? If it's something that really just offends you because you have a direct correlation to why it hurts you, that's one thing. That's you more connected with your emotions and
I would say you could peel back the layer of entitlement
and you peel back the layer of entitlement
underneath of that,
and you're going to find the trauma.
Because anger and or that entitlement display is usually a sense of injustice that person feels. So
but that's like that lower layer of that onion, right? And you have to, if you're a person that has that entitlement, you need to work through that with accountability to find what that trauma is, unfortunately.
Unless the person telling you that you're too sensitive is the person that caused the trauma.
Absolutely, that could be it too.
Then it's like, motherfucking no.
I mean,
this could be another topic. I don't want to dive too
no.
too
It was
deep
just, it was kind of a segue, but like, the point of it is, each person has a different way of accepting apologies or being apologized to, and when it's appropriate and when not, right?
Yeah.
They're just
There's a lot to unpack
there.
Yeah, that was a topic that on the surface seems like
it's not simple.
Yeah, I think to a lot of people seems simple. It seems like the words "I'm sorry," but after this discussion, I hope that you guys have realized that wow, this is big. Maybe you have areas of your life or people in your life that you need to apologize to or that you need an apology from. So
there really are no true cons to apologizing to somebody as long as it's coming properly, right?
Right.
It's a con if you're coming from the wrong place. Your intentions are incorrect, and you need to really do a deep dive into yourself and really ask yourself the hard questions and say, am I doing this for the right reasons? If not, leave it alone. If you are, then do it. And then as far as time goes, if your intentions are good, I think that should answer your question. Even if it's been a long time, even if it's been 15, 20 years, if your intentions are good and you believe the person is owed a debt, then do it.
They stand to benefit something from it. Yeah.
The majority of it, I'd say, right?
Mm-hmm.
If not, then the whole thing's a con. Leave it alone. You live with the pain.
Right.
That is your sentence.
Right. Or you just deal with that in a way that's not you apologizing, or like you said, sharing that pain or throwing that pain and guilt that you feel on them and not really doing those things that we talked about, taking accountability, being sincere, really actually apologizing.
A good apology should make the other person feel heard and make the other person feel like a weight has been lifted off of them.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it should make them feel like they are finally safe, that it won't happen again.
Yep. Good one. No doubt.
That's going to be our short.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree.
So that, I think, is our great conclusion. Our conclusion here is that there is a right time and a wrong time and a right reason and a wrong reason to apologize. Time...
It's not just I'm sorry.
It's not just I'm sorry. There's a right way to apologize and a wrong way to apologize.
Yeah.
That time shouldn't be the limiting factor. Timing is important.
It's important. I agree.
And that if you apologize, intentions are everything.
Intentions are everything.
I want to thank one of our viewers, Mr. Derek Cottingham.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate you, buddy.
For giving us this topic, because it's a fantastic topic that I know that I've been dealing with a lot the past 5 or 6 months. I just didn't come to me to make a whole podcast about it.
And unfortunately, Derek couldn't be here. Derek's very busy. We understand. We love you, Derek, anyway. But
we do.
We're excited to have some guests on the podcast. We're working on that for you guys.
We'll have guests soon.
And also, while thanking Derek, we also want to encourage you guys to email in questions or situations that you have in your life or topics that you want to hear discussed, because while we do have a lot of topics in the barrel loaded, ready to go, we have our own, but we like hearing from you guys.
We do.
If you
we
guys
want to
have
hear
a question
your thoughts.
or a situation that you're like, hey, what can I do here? while we want to take the moment now and reiterate that we're not therapists,
Nope.
we're not licensed in any way, and you just take our information and our advice and our experiences with a grain of salt, we would like to hear those kind of things.
Tell us what you want to hear.
Questions, topic ideas. We love it, or just, hey, how you doing? Or, hey, Devin, you look goofy.
That one was rough.
No, that one was funny. I didn't mind the hate comment.
At the end of the day, we're here to help our own mental health and discuss it in the hopes that it helps you as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to hear from our audience. We want to work with you. We want to talk about the things that you want to hear about. So send us your messages, text, message, email, whatever.
Right.
Send a carrier pigeon if you need to.
Right, send a carrier pigeon.
Right.
Yeah, no text, but our email is littleprickspod@gmail.com.
We will have the ability to get text at some point, by the way.
That would be cool.
Yeah, we will
like
have
a
that
WhatsApp
ability.
maybe we can put out there.
We're working on it right now.
Yeah.
If you need to send Hedwig with your topic, send it to us. But as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following. Like, share, subscribe. Share this with a friend or family member you think it might benefit.
Absolutely.
And if you like us at all, share it. If you don't, still share it. Thanks, guys.
At the end of the day,
next time.
don't be a prick.
Don't be a prick. Unless you are little pricks.
Right.
Adios.
Bye.
guys. Are you ready, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Just going for it. Going all aggressive. Like you're cracking a cold one. These are incredible mics.
Just enjoy that.
Which one did I get today? Strawberry mango. Okay, cool.
The opposites.
That's tough.
Okay.
What do you think of it?
That one's okay. Is it great with my coffee? No.
Is it great with my coffee? Not as much.
Nope. I'm going to enjoy them both, though.
Can't wait to get a QT, man. Wow. I mean,
Right.
tell me you don't give a shit about your body without telling me you don't give a shit about your body.
It's coffee. It's decaffeinated coffee.
I know, buddy. Is it black coffee?
It was.
Okay.
Before I put creamer in it. Oh no. Stop it. Stop it. There we go. Cool. Should we get started?
Yeah, I'll start if you want.
I was going to start. You want to start?
Well, yeah, we gotta be into our podcast intro. We gotta be better at that. We've been good about that, like the past 3 episodes. It's been better.
Good morning.
Yeah. Morning, everybody. Welcome to the podcast.
Unless you're watching this in the evening or at night, in that case, good evening and good night.
Take 2. All right. Trying to think how I want to come into this.
Hello there. Seriously.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No.
Hey guys,
I
welcome.
Can't do it.
Why not?
You go ahead.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, yo.
Your favorite little pricks are back.
Devon.
Fareed with another awesome topic.
Yeah. Take 3.
What?
I like that one.
What's wrong with it?
We seem tired.
I didn't seem tired. I felt great. I think it's you, buddy. Don't project.
It might be.
You're projecting.
Okay, it's me. Fuck. Just let me try again.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.